voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence the small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel, everyone. Hello, Mavericks and new viewers from all over the world. Wow. Is there no limit? Is there nothing sacred? Donald Trump posted a picture of himself as the Pope. Says he'd like the job. We'll show you. Blows my mind. And some people are defending it. People around him. I'm gobsmacked. A lot of people worried about their jobs in Canada and Oshawa. Layoffs announced there this week. We'll just rewind a little bit, take another look at that, and see what the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, newly elected, is saying about that. Of course, he's under heavy criticism because of it. What other things do we have on tap for you tonight? Man, those are the two main things. There's a lot going on, and yet it's a little quieter today than it has been for a while, probably because the election is sort of finally over with. But it's those tariffs, the threats of tariffs, it's the chaos surrounding it all that is creating a lot of this trouble. Even shipments of cheap stuff from China that people like to buy, even that's being disrupted. In a way, I would say that is probably going to make Donald Trump happy. But even as he does that and he rolls things back, rolls tariffs back, backtracks, backs off, loses on many fronts, that continues tonight as well, because all that stuff about Veterans Day being renamed, well, that's not really going to go down quite the way he was planning either. So stay with me. We'll come back on the other side. We'll start digging into today's top news stories.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, as I was finishing last night's broadcast, I said to myself, self, my dad does that all the time because he's my dad. I said, self, I'm going to avoid the crazy stuff tomorrow. I'm not going to talk about crazy things. I'm going to stay away from the crazy stuff. It'll be a broadcast tomorrow grounded in reality. And I'm going to avoid anything that is just crazy. And then, but as much as I was trying to avoid it, crazy came a calling. And I couldn't avoid it. I can't avoid it. It's just on Truth Social. This. Donald Trump posts this picture of himself as, well, wants to be the Pope. All this while the world, Catholics, continue to mourn the death of Pope Francis and go through the process now of selecting a new Pope. And he posts this. I said a while back, first Trump administration, I didn't really have a problem with much of it. Some things I thought he did were pretty good. A few things I was a little concerned about, but mostly I thought, the economy, he's doing a reasonable job on the economy. Then the pandemic hit and all the craziness just really went off the charts. Of course, all the blame was deflected But even through all of that, I still was, I don't know if I was, how can I put it? I guess I was under the spell of excuses, deflection, the blame game, blame everybody for everything, everybody else for anything you've done. Just deflect so that the really terrible things you've done make people believe that it's all fake. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm actually appalled. Bad enough when he was posting himself as a picture as the king. And people are applauding. It blows my mind. Could you imagine if Justin Trudeau had posted a picture of himself wearing a crown? People's minds would just disintegrate instantly into a first flames and then dust. Or their brain matter would just go all over the wall. What would happen if Mark Carney posted a picture of himself as a king in a crown or as a pope? But when Trump does it, people, they either think it's a joke or they're even okay with it, and maybe even some people think it's like, yeah, let's do it. Regardless, it's disrespectful. That's the point. All right, you're dealing with millions and millions of people around the world, and you're insulting them all, and people are okay with it because somehow Donald Trump has made it okay, socially acceptable to just be a jerk. And so I said some time ago, after kind of, watching this happen over, is it this car wreck, this train wreck in slow motion. I'm like, I said, this is turning into like the flea market presidency. If it's so low class, it's just like bargain basement, cheapens everything. It's all WWE wrestling, and it's just, that's what it is. It is like National Enquirer style everything, flea markets, just tacky. He's President Tacky. That's how I'm looking at him today because of this. It's tacky, it's classless. People are responding to this, and it's not pretty, and it's justified, frankly. Like, really? And yet people of faith vote for him, and like, I don't know what it's going to take to shake people back to reality. I don't know. Like, his approval ratings are slipping. Some people are beginning to wake up. They're like, you wake up, Rick. You need to wake up. Yeah, I've been waking up kind of back there a ways at the third exit back. I was getting off back into reality land. But you guys are still driving straight toward the cliff. Here's not everybody. Don't mean not everybody, but a lot of people who are like, look, let's just do a Twitter scroll and just look at the reactions to this tonight. Here's somebody named Bruce Patillo. I don't know who this is. As a Catholic, I prefer my Pope to be kind, loving, compassionate, forgiving, and open-hearted, empathetic, understanding, and like Jesus. In a world of Trumps, be a Francis. And then here, James Martin says, Jesuits are always supposed to give people the benefit of the doubt. So even though I find this deeply offensive, I will presume that Mr. Trump meant this lightheartedly, even though he had just recently returned from Pope Francis's funeral mass and he has a Catholic vice president. who met with Francis the day before his death, which was bizarre. But imagine the incandescent outrage, the swift condemnation, and the individual and joint protests from the U.S. bishops if this had been done by Joe Biden or Barack Obama. Indeed. Could you imagine? No, I can't imagine. And right now, if that had happened, that would like be the end of someone's political career. It would just erupt into a massive scandal. And yet this is just like another day in Trump world. And here's a post from Canada Hates Trump. Trump posted an AI image of himself as the Pope, but let's get effing real here. The guy who praises neo-Nazis wants to be leader for life, encourages political violence, attacks the free press, demonizes immigrants, and obsesses over loyalty, meant to post this instead. And you can see what that is. You asked for it, Donald, really. Like you set yourself up for that, man. Michael Steele says during this period of Novum Diales, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, mourning the loss of Pope Francis. I'm not Catholic. I'll set this offense aside because Trump, in his narcissism, gets off on our being offended. More to the point, this affirms how unserious and incapable he is. At 78, he remains a 10-year-old child, emotionally scarred and broken while desperate to prove he could be somebody, meaning an important person. His problem, he can't grow up to prove it. There's truth to that. This is juvenile. And for a president to do this, it dishonors the office of the president. It really, truly does. This is so cheap, so gross, so disrespectful. This is not what should be coming out of the White House at all, ever. It's a position, honestly, of privilege and responsibility, a position of service, the presidency. The country deserves better. The image of the United States, the reputation of the United States hinges largely on what this man does, Donald Trump. Whatever the president does, it reflects directly on the country. This is not just how people are viewing Donald Trump tonight, but people around the world are viewing the United States like this. President Tacky. Morgan J. Freeman. The USA is an effing joke. See, there you go. A joke that will get millions killed if we don't course correct now. This post is a massive insult to Catholics, Pope Francis's family, friends, and devotees, and to the present conclave. Yeah. Only thing potentially accurate is that Trump is a sexual molester, but we can set that Vatican issue aside out of respect for those who aren't. Is this who you want running your country? A POS who puts golf before people and wastes time posting stuff like this just to offend and terrorize people. Another 9/11 will hit because this jackass can't keep his eye on the ball. He doesn't know what or where the ball is. You asked for it, man. You're getting it. But I don't think he cares because you know what I think more than anything? This is about attention, getting attention. He's an attention whore. And here I am giving it to him, which is, it would normally be a mistake, but this is the president of the United States doing this. And this is the lead item I'm talking about tonight. So here he is again, taking up all the space, sucking all of the oxygen, not out of just the room, but the entire world with this, drawing all the attention to himself. We have so many other important issues to deal with in the world, and yet this is the most important issue in a way because this guy is, in a way, the most powerful man in the world. Wow. And I know that Pope Francis was not the most popular pope. He wasn't my favorite pope. If I care even about the pope because I'm not Catholic, I do care because he's a world leader in himself. And the church is a political organization as well, highly political, not just religious. And it has a huge impact on everything around the world. Wars, famine, human rights, faith, all these issues. The church, direct impact on so much of it. So I care, but, as much I care. I guess everybody cares, even if you're not Catholic. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. And then, the people around him, all these people who they're all yes people. Even this, they're defending, laughing about it, joining in what they think is a joke. It is juvenile. I feel like I'm watching a bunch of young hoodlums, like a gang of ill-mannered punks laughing after bullying someone and now mocking a pope who just passed away, mocking the church, mocking Catholics, and they're all laughing. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. It's not funny. And it's not okay. All this gross language, bullying, the prejudice, the hatred, the anger. It's not okay. Not at all. But people take their cues from leaders. And he's leading. And this is not Trump 1.0. This is Trump 2.0, and it's different. And I'm not sorry for talking about this tonight. I'm just disgusted. And I've had enough. And we're just getting started. God help us.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
And this tariff stuff, I mean, it is just stupid. And if it's on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again. And a lot of reasons for that, not the least of which is it's not even a plan, really. The only plan is just cause a lot of problems, make a lot of threats, put some of this stuff in place to get people to capitulate and come to the office to make a deal. And it's not even clear what the deals are supposed to be. It started off with like, oh, we have to deal with the fentanyl thing. Then it pivots to the, oh, well, it's because we want to reshore our industry or take back what the Canadians stole because they're all ripping us off. So there's that rhetoric, right? And then, yeah, you don't even know what the guy really wants. And he says that the United States holds all the cards. I'll tell you, they're weak. He's weak. This whole thing is coming back to bite him on the butt. Maybe not him because he's rich, so he won't feel the pain. But the average person, the average American is going to in a big way. They're already beginning to see the results of that. Now you're getting some, I guess, positive impact from the tariffs insofar as like Teimu, the Chinese super discount mail order thing organization company. They've been pretty active over the last few years selling Chinese, like the really cheap junk, really super cheap, and you can order the stuff, but it's not going to be so cheap now because of Trump. And what they were doing is they were taking advantage of these tariff loopholes that were in place before. A de minimis tariff loophole. And here I'll show you. Here's the NBC News report on this. And I've talked about this. I talked about this a long time ago, trying to explain to people why it's so hard for, there's real validity to this, why it's so difficult for a lot of North American, like Canadian, US companies to compete with China. And it's because of cheap shipping rates, subsidized shipping rates, and this de minimis tariff loophole that allows companies like Teimu to leverage goods that are produced on a massive scale, leveraging huge economies of scale and government subsidies in China to then flood markets with super ultra cheap goods produced in such massive quantities with government subsidies that they're priced artificially low, and then take advantage of US and Canadian policies on things like shipping, where they can pump it into the country at bargain basement prices and below. And so this is changing now because Teimu has changed his business model. And this is because of new rules on low value shipments. It's going to affect it is affecting Canadian mail order companies as well that ship to the United States in low volumes. And this is basically because items worth like $800 or less have been able to enter the United States duty-free since 2016. And that's why super cheap stuff like running shoes, plastic widgets, whammo, whatever, the Dyson slicer, whatchamacallits, and, even super cheap tools, just stuff. And a lot of it's just junky crap, but it's all low priced stuff. Some of it's okay. China makes some pretty good stuff these days, but super cheap. So you could get this stuff cheap, but now because of these changing rules, which have just come into effect again, and this has been on again, off again too during all this tariff talk, but it's back on again. And so as a result, the tariffs that are now in place, in some cases, are like doubling the cost or even more of some of these items coming from China. So it doesn't make it worthwhile. So what they're doing is part of their business model has been that they do have US suppliers or distribution hubs. So what they're doing is they're partnering with certain business people here, and they're looking for, they have people that they do this with, and they'll ship direct. They ship, I think, in larger quantities to these locations inside the United States. And then when orders are placed, they ship out from there, from within the US. But as a result, a lot of the stuff is not going to be available now to US consumers at all, because a lot of these items that we're shipping direct from China to the US now being listed as out of stock on their website. So don't go looking for that stuff now because you can't get it. And I'm seeing some economists saying that even by midsummer, you're going to start seeing shortages of goods if this trade war continues with China. And I think if it continues until Christmas, good luck buying toys for your kids, because virtually all of that stuff is made in China now. And the tariffs, don't really make sense. They're like incoherent, because if you look at like a battery manufactured in China, a lithium ion battery that would fit into like a laptop or even a cell phone or something, there's 145% tariff on that. but it doesn't make any damn sense, because if you take that same battery and then you put it into a laptop computer, I think the tariff goes down now to, what is it? Out of China, is it 45%? I might be wrong on that, but it's like a lot less. And then if you take that same Chinese battery, but then put it into, say, a computer that was produced in another country like Vietnam, or I don't know, like the Philippines, then the tariff would be down to, as depending on the country, it could go down as low as 10%. So ship that battery from China to the Philippines, put it into an electronic device there, then ship it to the United States, and it's like a 10% tariff. So how do you reconcile all of that? And when you're at the border and you're an agent or even a broker, and you're trying to make sense of this, where are these things at on these charts? I'm pretty sure that right now what's going on is as these goods are flowing into the United States, there's such chaos. I bet you one business is paying this much, that business is paying a different amount, because you could even have the same customs, border processing staff, whatever, at the border, the person in charge of charging these tariffs as the stuff is coming into the country, probably even assigning like different amounts on the duties as the stuff flows in for the same items, probably just making a different decision based on different information on the chart. It's chaotic. And it's changing so quickly, even from day to day, you can't make any sense of it. Now, as a result of all this chaos, Canadian jobs are on the line. Even though I told everybody, how many weeks ago is it now? It's all this stuff is happening so quickly, you can't keep track of the timeline either. Was about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when Trump was with this on again, off again auto tariff stuff. And then if you read the information sheet, it indicated that any auto parts or vehicles produced that are compliant with the current North American trade deal, CUSMA, if they're compliant with that deal, then his tariffs would not apply. And so that largely involves all the vehicles produced in Canada, because we're compliant with the trade deal. But because there's been so much craziness over all of this, General Motors made a decision, I think sometime back, and announced it this week, that they are going to proceed with layoffs at the General Motors assembly facility in Oshawa anyway. And this was something that I think was a decision made prior to, of course, Mark Carney announcing that he's going down to Washington, I think it's Tuesday, to meet with the president to begin talking about these trade issues and begin negotiating. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so let me show you. So the union pretty concerned about this, Unifor. I'll just get these all kind of lined up so that we've got them in order here. Here's, so we saw this week. GM, 750 workers being laid off at the Oshawa plant. So essentially what they're doing is they're taking out that third shift and going to a 2-shift cycle. At least that's the plan. They have to give notice, okay, under the current contract, which is part of the reason why this is happening. So I'm going to say right now, okay, I'm going to tell you, do not panic. We're not there yet. This is probably not as bad as it seems, and it may not happen. Good chance this is not going to happen. So do not panic. And I'll explain why. 750 workers at the Oshawa plant being laid off. This is an announcement from General Motors, because it's making changes to its shifts due to U.S. tariffs. That's what the company is saying. The plant, which employs roughly 3,000 people, it says here in this global news post, is moving from a 3-shift to a 2-shift operation. That's right, starting this fall, according to a news release from Unifor, the union, which represents workers there. We will not allow GM to barter Canadian jobs to gain Donald Trump's favor, Lana Payne, Uniform National President, said in the news release. She's calling the move a reckless decision that deals a direct blow to our members and threatens to ripple through the entire auto parts supplier network. And so GM spokesperson Marie Bennett confirmed in an email that the shift change will, quote, will impact approximately 700 workers, 750, though she did not refer to the move as layoffs. She goes on here and says, we are committed to supporting employees through the transition. Now, it's my understanding that they just recently hired 400 workers at the same U.S. plant, at the plant in the U.S. where they manufacture the same vehicle that's assembled in Oshawa, which is the heavy-duty Chevy Silverado pickup. And they also assemble these in Mexico. So they're producing them in all 3 countries. That's because there's a lot of demand for those trucks. Pickups, really, I think the most profitable vehicles for North American manufacturers, sort of North American. They're all global corporations now. But for Chevy, General Motors, Ford, those pickups, that's the backbone of their product lines. So here's the reason I think that everybody needs to just calm down a little bit. It's because, see, they have to give the union 6 months notice, right? Under the contract that they're going to lay people off. So, and because there's so much chaos with these tariffs, they don't know, the company doesn't know where this is going. So they have to plan ahead. How do you plan ahead if you don't really know if the tariffs are going to be on or off, on or off? You have to assume they're going to be on. So you need to issue the layoff notice now, so you have 6 months notice to get them done within 6 months on the 6-month period, assuming that when you get to the 6-month point, you'll need to do it. Prepare for the worst. Notify the union, tell the people that this is happening, and also, start hiring more people at the plant in the U.S. Dial your production back, just in case, without really knowing. And yet we've seen Trump rolling things back, canceling these tariffs over and over again, because he really is bargaining from a position of weakness, even though some people think it's from a position of strength. So as you get closer to the 6-month period, I think that there will be probably some sort of successful and productive resolution to this whole thing, because this isn't really about what it appears to be about on the surface. There are other motives below this, which I think are probably a little more rational. But this tariff talk, this stuff, it's, I don't know, it's just a mess. So don't panic. Within months, I think you will see some sort of agreement, resolution. It'll start on Tuesday. And then we'll get to a point where, these layoffs, I hope, will be rolled back. Unfortunately, there is the chance that even if an agreement is reached, because they've gone through the process of hiring more workers in the U.S., which will be good for them, but bad for the workers in Oshawa, they may just proceed with it anyway, because this process is in motion. And that plant in Oshawa, that is state of the art. That is a high-tech plant. A lot of money has been invested in that facility. It's not operating at full capacity. GM could be doing a lot more with it, which would benefit General Motors immensely as a company. And, just overall, it would be a positive thing for both sides. Here's how the president of Unifor responded when asked about it on Bloomberg News. keeping in mind, that Canada's, as I've said before, uh, we've been involved in helping to auto industry with the United States from the beginning of the auto industry and assembly lines, and even before that. Uh, this goes back to the early 1900s. Our relationship, our partnership with the U.S. So this is, any way you slice it, this is Donald Trump. This is not anything Canada asked for at all, and it's totally uncalled for. We can be engaged in mutually beneficial trade, and Canada is here. We have a smaller market, obviously, but we still buy a lot of cars and trucks. It's just it blows my mind. Here's this.
Is calling for swift action after GM's announcement that it plans to cut its Oshawa assembly plant from 3 shifts to 2 shifts. It is citing in part Trump's tariffs. Let's get more from Unifor National President Lana Payne. Lana, thanks very much for giving us the time. A sad day, obviously, for workers in Oshawa. Not a good day for the Ontario economy. So this plant makes the Silverado truck. That's the main product it makes?
Yes, Andrew. Thanks for having me. They build Silverados. So do 2 other plants in the United States. And what we're seeing here is basically a shift or a production of one of our shifts into an increased capacity in one of the plants in the U.S. So it's a direct shifting of jobs, and it's a direct result of these tariffs.
And of course, that's what Trump wants, isn't it?
Yeah, and the reality is, I've been saying a lot of things about this today, and I've said many things to General Motors, as I've said to all of the automakers since we started in this trade war, that not to make drastic long-term decisions that can hurt Canadian workers, because the reality is they still want to sell vehicles in Canada. We have a very big market here in Canada that they depend on, and Canadians are not in the mood to put up with this and these kinds of actions. And the reality is we have to find a way collectively to work through this trade war. And what we've seen today is what I feared from the beginning, and that's Canadian workers get squeezed. So now we've got to see how our politicians are going to react to this, because I know darn well our union is going to be fighting every single day to try and get this decision overturned and make sure we do everything possible to protect Canadian jobs.
Well, we've had the routine expressions of concern from the Prime Minister and the Ontario Premier. Do you expect to be anything resembling action, though, to force GM to revoke this move?
Well, a couple of things can happen here. In terms of our retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., we actually built in, because you might recall, Andrew, we talked about this before, our union recommended a carrot-stick approach. If you're building in Canada, then you can get an exemption, and you won't be retaliated against from tariffs from Canada. But that also means you have to keep up your footprint. You have to keep up your investment in here. And now what we expect to see is for the Canadian government to review that exemption in terms of what it is that they've allowed these automakers. And then secondly, we have to push back. And my advice to the Prime Minister today, if he was interested, is pull these automakers together into a meeting and explain to them exactly what's at stake. There is, and we expect something in return for the fact that they get to sell in Canada. That means we expect them to build here and to maintain their investment and their footprint.
I don't want to pile on the gloom here, but there was a late 2024, you'll probably remember, Trillium Network for Advanced Manufacturing said at that stage Canadian auto plants were expected to produce only 1.3 million vehicles this year, the lowest level in decades. And we've seen cuts since then. Are you almost fighting a losing battle to keep auto plants in Ontario at this stage?
Oh no, I never fight losing battles. I fight to win, Andrew, and our members are going to be fighting with me to win here too. Part of the reduction that we saw in 2024 is because we had two major assembly plants under retooling, and the Oshawa or the Windsor plant was also down for a period of time last year during a shorter retool period. So that meant we were building fewer vehicles in 2024. We've got to fight to make sure that we not only maintain the footprint we got, and that includes the plants that are currently under retool, but that we're expanding this footprint. It's incredibly important to the Ontario economy. It's incredibly important to the Canadian economy, and we need advanced manufacturing in Canada. I believe that our Prime Minister will have, as part of his discussions, hopefully next week when he meets with President Trump, some ideas in terms of how we work our way through this, because there are other things that the U.S. can be doing, because Canada isn't the problem.
So Ford, they have only one plant now. It's in Oakville, Ontario, and that's been shut down. They had planned to make a big electric SUV there. That plan was dropped, as far as I know. They want to build F-Series Super Duty trucks, is the latest I heard, but that doesn't happen until next year. So there is an idled plant.
Yeah, but it is full speed ahead with the retooling. Work is underway there every single day. And Ford also has an engine plant in Windsor, Ontario, which employs several thousand people as well. So they have a footprint. Stellantis has a footprint. GM has a footprint. We also have the non-union automakers, Toyota and Honda, and we expect them to maintain their footprint here too. And I think one of the things we have to do as we're working our way through this trade war is to make sure that our Prime Minister is also putting pressure on these corporations. They've got to feel it, the same pressure in Canada that they're feeling in the U.S., or we will be in a very serious situation. And that's why today it was important to hear our Prime Minister say, and I will repeat his line, that there can be consequences here as a result of these kinds of decisions that automakers are making, because we have to stop the bleeding.
Lana, thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew.
Lana Payne, Unifor and National President.
Okay, so we'll move on here to what Mark Carney has been saying about this. And I think he's quite right when he says we're in a crisis, but it's not something we can't manage. And I already explained sort of why. Here's how he's looking at it as he prepares to engage with Donald Trump on Tuesday.
The requirements of the time. And I will remind that it's not just words. We are in a crisis. If you look at, the terrible manifestation of that today in Oshawa for the GM workers, 2,000 GM workers, and I'll just express my deepest sympathy for them and their families. A very difficult time. We are committed to supporting workers. All the dollars from our tariffs going to support workers. Fighting hard for our auto sector, all our sectors in these negotiations with the Americans, and making sure that companies act in true partnership as well. In maintaining employment and investment in Canada. And if not, there will be consequences for those companies.
So we'll see how it goes. Now, there was also this from Premier Doug Ford in Ontario, of course, the auto industry center for Canada. So a lot at stake for Ontario. He posts here, says the news from GM is extremely tough for the workers in Oshawa and their families. These are hardworking people who have helped to build Ontario's auto industry. GM has reaffirmed its commitment to the Oshawa plant, which will continue building Ontario-made trucks for years to come. We will continue doing everything we can to support a strong future for the facility and its workers. Ontario remains a global leader in auto manufacturing, attracting billions in new electric vehicle and battery manufacturing investments. Companies from around the world are choosing Ontario because of our unmatched workforce, competitive business environment, and resilient supply chain. We are not slowing down. We are building Ontario into the engine of North America's auto future, and the workers of Oshawa and across the province are a key part of that in the face of economic uncertainty caused by the chaos of President Trump's tariffs and tariff threats. We will continue to fight every single day to attract new investment, secure good paying jobs, and support workers and their families. Of course, Ontario was in lockstep, and Canada was in lockstep with the Biden administration marching toward this electrification of the auto industry. Billions in government subsidies going into these auto plants, parts plants, manufacturing electric batteries, mainly in Ontario. And, everything was humming along. I've always been skeptical, didn't think it was wise to be putting that much government money into all of this. Then along comes Trump, and he just upsets the whole apple cart. Now the whole thing, the whole plan is disrupted. It's just chaotic, and he's put the brakes really on the march toward electrification. So now all these investments are in jeopardy, in question. Maybe rightly so. I've never been a fan of this government-driven approach to the electric vehicle future. Case in point, and I think Trump's quite right in a lot of ways when it comes to extending the life of internal combustion engine powered vehicles, ICE powered vehicles. Now, GM also has this facility in Ingersoll, Ontario, about 2 hours from where I'm at right now. The Carney plant. When was that built? Back in the 80s, I think. Yeah, back in the 1980s. And they built they built a vehicle there called the Bright Drop. It's a commercial vehicle. They've built a lot of different vehicles over the years. But this one's a commercial vehicle, and it hasn't been selling very well. So as a result of that, they announced layoffs there some time ago. I mean, recently, but weeks ago. General Motors announced a temporary shutdown at its Carney automotive assembly plant in Ingersoll, with hundreds of layoffs expected. GM says the decision is not tied to U.S. tariffs, but is due to decreased market demand and high inventory levels of the Bright Drop electric vehicle. That's from the mayor of Ingersoll, Brian Petrie. And yeah, I mean, that's true. It's not just because of the tariffs. It's because of the low market demand. That was back, April 12th. That was posted. So it's important to kind of keep it all in perspective and accurate, right? That being said, the tariff talk disrupting things as well. And because, one of the reasons demand for the electric vehicles drops off is because Trump comes along and says, oh, all these plans that have been pushed to electrify everything, meaning that you're going to have limited choices for gasoline powered vehicles in the future. Oh, we've changed our mind. Now we're extending that. So you don't necessarily need to buy these electric vehicles. There will still be gas. So now the shift in demand is back toward ICE vehicles, not electric. So that affects what goes on at Ingersoll, which means that all the investment there is maybe in jeopardy. And will this allow production to continue? Maybe they'll have to shift back to the production of a gas-powered vehicle, or maybe the whole factory will shut down because of all this. If you have a plan that's laid out over a 4-year Biden administration, and then it's just trashed when the next guy comes in, all that goes out the window. How are these companies supposed to plan for anything when you don't have government policies that are stable and consistent? That's as much of a problem, maybe even more of a problem than the tariffs themselves. Nobody knows what's going on. And that's not free market. That is rigging everything. That's what the tariffs are largely about. Tariffs are not about free market economics at all. It's actually quite the opposite. That's why I say Trump is not a free market conservative at all. He's absolutely in favor of government control of the market. More than that, hyper control. He controls it. It gives all the control to him, because anybody that runs a company, any major company, anybody that has any real sway, any oligarch, any head of any major company, corporation, if you want an exemption on the tariffs, you have to go see the Donald. Everybody in the world has to come to him to make a deal. That's what the tariffs are really about. It's about rigging the system so that you can hand out favors to your friends. And if you want to be his friend, you got to give him something. And it may not even be something related to the economy. It might be I don't know, maybe he just wants you to say nice things about him in the media, or maybe he wants you to build a factory. You just don't know what it is until you go on down there and make a deal. It's about controlling the economy from the White House, and all the power goes back to him. He knows this. And China knows it. But China, Xi Jinping, really having none of it. Because China right now holds more cards than Donald Trump does. The reason is what Trump has done is he's limited his choices globally. See, if China has an issue where if they impose tariffs on U.S. goods, maybe an agricultural good, and that makes that particular product too expensive for a Chinese company or consumers in China to purchase those products or that particular product from the United States, China can pivot. They'll just go to another country where they don't have a trade war going on and import that same product. So if you have a widget that's made in the United States and they impose, in retaliation, 40% tariff on this pen, we'll call it a widget. Now it becomes 40% more expensive in China. You can't buy it from the United States anymore. It's okay because they'll just buy it from, I don't know, New Zealand or Vietnam or Russia, and they'll get it from there with no tariff. So now the American manufacturer is left out. But what can the United States do? Trump doesn't have any place to go. The United States, Trump, he's picked a trade war with the whole world. I think they have tariffs now on over 190 countries. So if Trump tariffs make something more too expensive to import so that people can't afford it, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have any place to go now. Because if he wants to import a widget from China, but it's too expensive now, people don't buy it anymore, or something from Teimu, he might have been able to pivot to I don't know, Korea or Japan, but not anymore because he's beating those guys up too. Can't get it from Canada. He's too busy beating us up here, punching us in the face with tariffs. Although he's, rolling a lot of the stuff back at the same time, buckling, caving, pivoting. But he's so busy now. He's fighting this war with over 190 countries. So he has not just Mark Carney going down there Tuesday. Tuesday it's Carney. Wednesday it's the leader of, I don't know, pick a country out of the 190. And his team's got to deal with all this at one time. This is not smart. This is why he's weak. And he's tariffing everything. So, what? Pineapples? I don't know. Can you even get pineapples produced in the United States? No, not really. Bananas, a lot of fruits, things that they don't even produce in the United States, and yet he's tariffing them anyway, which makes no sense whatsoever. because it's a tax on consumers in the US. Tax stuff that maybe you want to reshore the manufacturing. Yeah, I get it, but maybe on a limited scale, targeted to get a particular result. You want to protect your defense industry. You need to make sure that you have a steel industry. That makes sense. So, for national security reasons, maybe you impose tariffs just on steel against China, which is subsidizing and maybe even dumping steel into the U.S. market below cost. So you tariff that to bring their price back up to actual closer to market value, so you can protect your steel industry. That there's an argument to be made for something like that, but to tariff a lot of product, everything across the board, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You'll see this can't last. It's not sustainable. He's in a very weak position. So Mark Carney is going to go down there Tuesday, and he's an economist, more free market than you might think. Very smart guy, and he's going to be positioning from a much stronger position than his critics and the smear merchants would have you believe. Canada's in a much better position than those folks would have you believe. And that's good for all of us. And Godspeed, Mark Carney. I don't care if you're a conservative, a liberal, a New Democrat, whatever your political stripe, whoever is in that position, I just wish the prime minister success, because the prime minister's success is our success, and not just our success as Canadians. I would say even it's a success for our friends in the United States as well, because the sooner we stabilize everything, get things back to normal, some sort of normal with a normal trade relationship that is mutually beneficial, then we will all mutually benefit. And let's get there and get past this madness.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And yeah, you can donate at freedomreporters.com. Please like, share, subscribe. We have, and I hope my audio is okay. I didn't even check. Is my microphone working properly? Please let me know if I'm off mic tonight, because I had a complete computer reset. I'll look in the Rumble chat here. Just checking in. Hello, everybody. Hello, Belovely, Long Meadow. I think the audio is okay. Yep. Okay. Excellent. For a change, the audio didn't get all messed up. I always forget to double check when we go through the computer reboot here. So appreciate that. All right. Yeah, please like, share, subscribe, especially over on YouTube. If you're watching on our other YouTube channel over there tonight, if you could subscribe and hit the thumbs up, that would help us immensely. Thank you very much. For all the people who hate me, go ahead, hit the thumbs down. You're going to do it anyway. That's why you show up every night. Go ahead, get it out of your system. Go ahead, haters. How many thumbs down do I have? 6 tonight on Rumble. Fantastic. 7. Thank you. I got 7 thumbs down. It's not a record, though. We've had a lot more than that on other nights. Anyway, yeah. American style politics. It was present during the Canadian election, and it's been present during the election in Australia too, where we've seen Anthony Albanese elected to a second consecutive 3-year term. Labor Party, and that's being kind of described as a big win for the pushback against the global rise of the right. Here's a clip from his speech.
Australian people have voted for Australian values. For fairness, aspiration and opportunity for all. In this time of global uncertainty, Australians have chosen optimism and determination. Australians have chosen to face global challenges the Australian way, looking after each other while building for the future.
What the heck is that? Somebody voting on their bathing suits. I've never voted in my bathing suit before. That must have been, that must be a polling station somewhere near a beach. We'll just leave it at that. I don't even want to know. Has anybody out there ever voted in your bathing suit before? Let me look in the chat. Who votes in their bathing suit? Love, Hope, and Faith says, I'm just waiting for a kangaroo to jump in. Bondi Beach voting. No, me either. What about your birthday suit? Anybody vote in your birthday suit? Not me. Oh. In the Canadian election, some people looking at foreign influence, misinformation, influence of China, and I would say the United States for sure, influence in the election are trying to up here. Other countries as well. And then there was a poll taken saying the majority of Canadians say misinformation did affect the federal election. It breaks it down. It's a Leger poll, sampled more than 1,500 Canadians between April 29th and May 1st. And then it breaks it down into, like, do you think there was a lot of false information? Do you think it was a little bit of influence? And so it's kind of a complex breakdown in the results. Bottom line is you've got, I think in total about, I don't know, 70% of the people think there's some degree of influence or misinformation influencing the outcome of the election to one degree or another. You know, like it's got, the breakdown goes into things like 16% say they trust the results only a little. 13% say they don't trust them at all as a result of what's been happening with information warfare. And 79% of people in Quebec, 76% of people in Ontario, 73% of people in BC said misinformation had an impact. So pretty high. People are attuned to it. And yeah, I think it is becoming an issue. Speaking of Donald Trump backing down on things, was it just yesterday I talked about him saying he was going to rename November 11th Victory Day for World War I, rename it from Veterans Day. And now he's backtracking, changing his mind. And I pointed out that his proclamation through some sort of an executive order was really a reflection of the Russian version, historical version or account of what happened in World War II. It mirrors that. Yeah, it was really weird to see a U.S. president aligning national days of observance with what the Russians do. Raised some eyebrows, but now today, just one day later, rolling that back, saying, here's ABC with their version of this story, which is, it's widespread. Everybody's picking up on it. A day after President Donald Trump announced he was renaming November 11th, the date that Veterans Day is observed as Victory Day for World War I, the White House is now saying it will be an additional proclamation, not a full replacement. Translation is, it's a big oops. Oops, not really doing it. No, sorry. Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, saying we are not renaming Veterans Day. It will just be an additional proclamation that goes out on that day. Yeah, better roll that one back, Donald, because it's not sitting well with veterans. In his social media post this week, he said that he intended to designate May 8th as Victory Day for World War II. Not going to happen now, not that way. That'll fade away over time after he leaves office. Maybe even before. John Hogan, named Newfoundland's premier designate. He just won the Liberal leadership contest out there. Newfoundland and Labrador elected him as leader. And he's 47 years old. Former health and justice minister. Beat out his rival, John Abbott. Vote released at the party's convention at a hotel in downtown St. John's. Picked up 77.4% of the points needed under the party's voting system. And that assigns points for the number of votes won in each of the province's 40 electoral districts. They had nearly 14,000 party members registered to vote. So he's going to take over from Andrew Furey as premier, who announced back in February that he was stepping down. So, changing of the leadership there for the Liberals in Newfoundland. What else have I got for you tonight? A few things I was thinking of talking about. I'm going to hold off at least until tomorrow. I'm not even going to tell you what they are. Oh, I found this. This is, I don't even know. So much on social media. I don't know if this is recent, but it's cool video. And it does appear to be real. So I'm going to show it to you. And this is scary stuff. This is out of Shandong, China. Just posted. I don't know if it's recent. I'm just going to show it to you because it's like amazing footage. This is a landslide taken out part of a roadway. Here, check this out. My God. Rain, see? Erosion. And then down comes all this debris, soil, everything. Man, that definitely could have been catastrophic for somebody. Nobody hurt there, though. What a miracle. Anyway, I have no idea what that's really, truly all about in terms of details. If anybody knows, post it in the chat. Just sharing. Just sharing. That gets us to close to the bottom of the hour. And this being Saturday night, and there's been so much craziness in the world, I'm going to wrap it up a little bit early tonight, folks, because quite frankly, with all the insanity out there, I need a little bit of a mental break. I need to recharge even just for a few hours to prepare for the madness coming tomorrow. And I think there will be lots of it, especially as I look ahead. And there are a few things that I might want to touch on tomorrow. I'm not going to get into it. We'll see how it goes. Depends on how much mental strength I have to withstand the onslaught of the insanity. What will I leave you with tonight as we look ahead to Sunday. Well, let's just leave it on the positive side and just go straight down the road tonight. I'll leave you with Free Dog. Just end the night off with a little bit of sanity. Go outside. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to get Cosmo. We're going to go for a walk. I'm going to hug a tree. I'm going to make sure that I'm still grounded. I'm going to have my feet firmly planted on terra firma. I'm going to kiss the bark on that tree, and I'm going to enjoy a little bit of solitude out in the dark, and hopefully it's not raining. And I'll see everybody back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern on the flip side. Thanks for hanging out tonight. See you tomorrow.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the legs. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling alone, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. In his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a bird. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the legs.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.